go ashore, they were always friendly to Americans, right? Treated-
Well, that kind of place was, yeah, it was, primarily for tourists anyhow, Acapulco.
Any place that you found it to be otherwise where you weren't treated so well? Or?
Well, oh yeah, Panama, you're not treated that well. Of course, it's overrun by U.S. servicemen.
Yeah.
At least it was.
Oh yeah, you said you went there and you tested the security of the canal.
Yeah.
Now, how can you talk about how that happened? People got off the sub to test.
Yeah, we put landing parties of Marines and UDT ashore in rubber boats.
In rubber boats, okay.
Yeah, and sometimes we'd be submerged and we'd call what we call locking out of the sub, whereas we send them out with lungs on and in rubber boats and whatever they wanted to take along, and they would come up to the surface outside the boat, of course, and take their rubber boats and go ashore. And sometimes we'd service to do that. It'd be easier on everybody if we did that. And let's see, where was I? Lost my train of thought, I guess.
We were talking about the security of the.
Oh, yeah,
Testing the security of the canal.
Yeah, the Army, I believe, was supposed to guard the canal, and there were a lot of U.S. troops around, and we're testing their effectiveness and providing security. And so at the end of the operation, I remember taking one of the rubber boats in to pick up one of the UDT, and he had something like 75 U.S. soldiers as his prisoners, just this one guy. And they're a pretty effective bunch. They're now the SEALs, of course.
Mhm.
And anyhow, we went into Naval Center, and that's on the Pacific side, and stayed there for a few days. And before we went ashore, the captain called us together, and I remember one of the things he told us, to be careful, don't get any trouble here, especially with the military police. We've really embarrassed the hell out of the Army here, and they want to take it out on somebody, and you guys are wearing dolphins, and they're going to pick on you. All right. I don't know if anybody got any problems because of that. So.
What was just talk about what that UDT stands for? Underwater
Demolition Team.
Demolition Team, okay. How about the morale on board your sub? Was it pretty good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Mhm. As opposed to on the carrier, it wasn't so good.
Was that pretty common? If anybody given a choice would rather serve on a sub as opposed to a carrier?
I don't know. There are a lot more people who have been on carriers than submarines, of course. And those who went on the submarines, I think, will generally say that they rather have that duty. Well, I don't know.
From your perspective, though, it was definitely the sub was better.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the pay, and you wear those dolphins, the girls knew you got paid more than a common, ordinary sailor.
And the dolphin how did that differ you from another sailor? The dolphin?
Well, you know what they look like?
No, that's what I'm.
Oh, it's a silver badge of two fish, dolphins, almost face to face, and in between is the bow of a submarine facing you, and they're put on over your ribbons if you have any, and so forth, just like paratroopers wear their jump insignia and so forth.
Yeah. So it kind of you were known to be making a little more money than a regular sailor or a regular soldier.
Yeah.
So okay, and I'm learning a lot here. So Did you get to meet local people there in Panama, or?
Not unless you can call an American employee of the U.S. government, who's been there a long time, a local,
Yeah.
who was a friend of mine I told you about, had spent some years down in Panama before I went in the Navy. Well, I gave him a call and he met me and we went out to dinner one evening. That's the only contact I had with locals, I think, except bartenders.
Was the Perch the only sub you served on, or?
Except for sub school, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because you listed the Cobalt?
The Cabot.
Cabot.
Mhm.
Okay, that was not a sub,
No, that was an aircraft carrier.
the aircraft carrier.
Mhm.
How long did you serve on the Cabot?
Well, let's see, I went on and went to sub school I went to electronics school and then I came back to the Cabot. I haven't really added them up, I suppose, year and a half, something like that.
But you always missed the sub though, right? When you weren't on, right?
Well, I don't know if I missed it or not. I suppose I did in a way. I made some good friends on that boat. In fact, one came out to see me a couple of years ago once and brought his wife, who I'd never met. He lived in Illinois and was out of the Navy by that time, of course.
I think you might have mentioned one of your memorable experiences, or what's another experience that just stands out in your mind anywhere within your 4 years in the Navy?
I don't know if there's any one experience or not. I can't think of any.
But not a lot of people sail through the Panama Canal, right? Did you guys sail all the way to the Atlantic side, or?
No,
You
we
didn't sail?
we didn't go through.
You didn't go through?
Didn't go through.
Okay, you were just
I went-
testing security on that.
Yeah,
I see.
on the Pacific side.
Okay.
I did go through the canal later as a civilian. I was working as a contractor for the Navy.
But serving on a sub in and of itself would seem like quite a memorable experience for somebody who's never been on one or near one.
Well, it is an experience, yes. It's a different way of life, that's for sure.
Just think,
And some guys just don't adjust, and some are just very adaptable to it.
yeah, that's why I mentioned the claustrophobia thing. I just
Never
seemed
bothered
like,
me.
Seems like some people would have a tremendous problem with that.
Uh,
Did you ever see people that just said, "I can't take this. I got to get away"?
yeah, but it was mostly the ears that bothered them. The eardrums, when it changed pressure, are very vulnerable. And I remember one guy, he was in extreme pain because his eardrums had ruptured because of the sudden pressure change. And we had to take him off when we were in Alaska.
Yeah, now I think all the rules have changed and the regulations have changed. Aren't women allowed to serve on subs now?
I read where they're going to submarine school now.
Do you
Yeah.
think that'll change the effectiveness of the people, responsible for doing the mission? Women
I
being-
sure do.
It'll be a distraction for sure, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and, you gotta make all those accommodations for women being aboard. And a submarine is not a place where you can expect much privacy.
It just doesn't happen, does it?
No, no.
So they haven't started serving yet on subs, that's,
I don't think they have.
okay. All right. What about, you listed them earlier on paper, any special medal or citation you want to talk about on
No,
camera?
no.
Okay. All right. Where were you, your last week of, service to the Navy, service to your country?
Well, that was a naval receiving station in the San Diego where I got my discharge.
You processed out in San Diego?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you you had a chance to re-enlist for sure,
Oh, yes.
and you were having no part of that.
No, I thought I'd try college.
Okay. So you didn't have any regrets at all about leaving the Navy? You weren't sad, you were ready to go home?
Yeah, that's pretty much true. I guess sometimes when I didn't do very well on a college exam, I said to myself, why am I here, you know?
Mhm. What kind of reception did you receive when you got back home?
It was a good reception.
A lot of family members.
Yeah, but what I remember more is my friends from back home, they were getting discharged out of the military about then too. And we really had some great parties. Yeah.
Do you, besides the parties, is there a chance you remember the first meal you had when you got back home?
No, I don't.
It was probably a good meal though, wasn't it?
I'm sure it was.
How did the Navy experience affect your life from the time you got out up until today? How would you say what kind of effect did it have?
Well, I did learn something about electronics, and that did help in college, especially in physics classes related to electronics. And then later when I worked for the Navy as a contractor, it was usually on electronic equipment, and it helped there.
Now you mentioned earlier about one friend you had who you made contact with last year, I believe you said.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
How about any other friends that you made while you were in the Navy? You had any contact with any other people besides the one?
2 or 3, but not recently.
You guys didn't have any kind of reunions of any type, did you?
We did from the sub, and that was about, well, that was after my friend had visited me here in North Carolina. We had a reunion in Las Vegas, and he and his wife were there. And that was the last time I saw him, and he has since died. So that was my last contact with anybody.
Okay. Larry tried to cover a lot of things that you did while your 4 years in the Navy. Is there anything that we didn't put in the interview so far that you think should be included on the interview that you'd like for people to know?
Well, I think being in the service was served as an improvement to my lifestyle. I saw how other people lived away from Archbold, Ohio. I was a farm boy, and especially when I got to California, my uncle, who had been in Panama for several years, I saw occasionally on weekends. I'd go up to see him. He lived in a small beach town north of Long Beach, and he had friends that were educated, you know, and beyond what education I had. And I thought, my gosh, I think I ought to get some education. And so I think being exposed to different things outside of where I was raised, it really did help me to mingle with people, and then of course in college too.
Yeah. I'm sure you appreciate the discipline part of being in the military.
Well, not all aspects of it.
Some needed it more than others, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you could go back to November 1952, and you had it all to decide over again. Would you change anything? Or would you go right back in the Navy again?
I think there's a good chance I'd do about the same thing, because I was eager to get off the farm, in a way.
And the Navy's a good way to see the world, right?
Oh, you see the sea.
See the sea. Are you satisfied with today's the way the military's done that? It's all volunteer. Or do you think we should reinstitute the draft?
I think we ought to have the draft. Yeah, this volunteer stuff I don't think works very well. Everybody will have a share of that kind of service. And I don't think Peace Corps picks up the slack in that or any other way of living.
Okay. Well, if you don't think there's any, if I didn't miss anything that you think should be covered, we'll just go ahead and move to the conclusion of the interview.
Okay?
I enjoyed talking to you, and I want to thank you for two things. First thing is thank you for taking your time, coming in here today, sitting down, doing the interview. And secondly, very importantly, thank you for serving your country.
Oh, thank you.